The ordeal of love, the greatest test for those with a spiritual calling. There are mountains that can stand firm against hundreds of storms, yet tremble under a single gentle breeze that strikes the hidden cracks. Those with a spiritual calling are much the same. They may overcome the trials of fame, power, and wealth, temptations that cause countless others to fall, yet find themselves shaken by a glance, a smile, or a seemingly casual word. In the history of Buddhism and the lives of spiritual practitioners, there have been many instances where a devoted practitioner who has kept precepts and meditated diligently for years meets the exact karmic connection that can suddenly sever their path to liberation. It is not because they are weak, but because love and attachment touch the deepest chambers of the mind, the place where desire, clinging, and invisible threads from many lifetimes are stored. The Buddha once said, "Desire is the root of suffering." It is no coincidence that in the 12 links of dependent origination, craving comes right before clinging and becoming, the link that leads directly to rebirth. A single spark of craving, if not illuminated by wisdom, becomes a binding rope, pulling us back into the cycle of samsara, no matter how far we have traveled on the path of liberation. Thus, the ordeal of love becomes the sweetest yet most dangerous storm. It arrives without warning, as gently as a falling petal, yet can topple an ancient tree if its roots are not deep enough. Why is love a greater challenge for the spiritually inclined than fame or power? What hides behind those seemingly chance encounters that shake the heart so deeply? And how can we walk through such karmic moments without losing our spiritual resolve? The search for these answers is also the journey of looking directly into one of the greatest gateways back into the cycle of rebirth. Why love is the greatest ordeal for the spiritually inclined. In life, there are many forms of trials: material deprivation, the lure of status, the thirst for control, or the challenge of harsh circumstances. But all of these usually attack from the outside. Those with a spiritual calling, after years of training, can build an inner wall to keep their minds undisturbed by them. Love is different. It attacks from within. It does not knock on the door, but seeps in through the fragrance of flowers, a pair of eyes, a voice, or a strange sense of understanding. It makes one open the door of the heart, only to realize that a flame has already been lit inside, one that is hard to extinguish. In Buddhist teachings, the root of romantic attachment is craving, the desire and clinging toward an object that brings pleasure or emotional comfort. Craving is not only physical desire, but also the longing of the heart, to be cared for, to be special, to belong to someone. In the 12 links, craving comes right after feeling, the pleasant sensation, and right before clinging. When a strong emotion arises, the mind develops craving, then the urge to hold tightly, and from there karma is created, leading to rebirth. A person on the spiritual path may have lessened their attachment to wealth or status, but love touches a deeper layer, the instinct to seek emotional bonding. This is why it becomes the final exam before the mind can be truly free. Karmic bonds across lifetimes, the root of ties that are hard to break. Some relationships are the result of karmic connections stretching across many lifetimes. Unpaid debts of love. If in a past life we owed someone emotionally, or made a promise we did not fulfill, that energy can pull two people back together. Unfinished gratitude. Someone who once saved us or helped us deeply may return in this life, so we can repay that debt or walk alongside them again. Unfinished lessons. Some connections are not meant for a lifetime together, but to teach us something vital, like letting go or forgiving. Because the roots run deep over many lifetimes, the feeling when meeting again is often intense and inexplicable. If a spiritual practitioner does not recognize it as karma, they may mistake it for destiny that must be held on to. A young novice monk during the Ming Dynasty practiced diligently, yet when he met a village girl, his heart wavered. He began skipping meditation to see her. Eventually, he left the monastery and lived as a layman. Years later, in deep regret, he said, "Just one thought of desire, and 100 lifetimes of samsara." Or, a Tibetan master in the 20th century. He had long practiced asceticism, but when a Western female student came to study the Dharma, he developed feelings for her. Believing that love could walk alongside the path, he continued both. Yet over time, his mind lost its clarity, and his spiritual discipline declined. He later said, "I underestimated the power of love. It is not just a person, but an entire universe of attachments." The psychological mechanism when love arises. 1. The sense of lack. The ego constantly feels incomplete, always seeking the missing half in another person. 2. Pleasure and attachment. When we receive attention or affection, the brain releases dopamine, oxytocin, and other chemicals, creating a feeling of bonding that is hard to let go of. 3. The illusion of forever. Desire blinds us to impermanence, making us believe emotions will remain unchanged. 4. Self-justification. Practitioners may rationalize that this love is a wholesome karmic connection or a path to practice together, while in truth, the mind has already been disturbed. Signs you are entering the ordeal of love. A strange sense of familiarity upon the very first meeting. Your mind becomes occupied, making it difficult to focus on meditation or work. You alter your schedule, habits, or major life decisions because of that person. You begin interpreting events in a way that benefits the relationship, even if it goes against your original principles. How to overcome and transform it. 1. Recognize early. Call it by its true name, a karmic ordeal or a test, not merely a gift. 2. Maintain mindful boundaries. Keep your daily practice, sustain emotional distance, and do not place the other person at the center of your life. 3. Transform the energy. Use the feelings as fuel to grow compassion and virtue, instead of letting them bind you. 4. Contemplate impermanence and impurity. Remember that all emotions and physical forms change to reduce attachment. 5. Seek wise spiritual friends. Confide in a teacher or a clear-minded Dharma companion to help you see clearly. A karmic ordeal of love is like a high mountain blocking the path of one with a spiritual calling. Either you remain forever at its foot, or you climb over and see a wider world. For someone who has never loved or been deeply moved, compassion can sometimes remain just a concept. Only when your heart has once trembled for someone, and you've learned to love them without binding them, do you truly understand what compassion is? Love without conditions, without the need to possess. Those who stir our hearts most strongly often do not stay forever. They are like the universe's messengers, bringing a note that says, "It's time you learned this lesson." That lesson may be letting go, forgiving, cherishing the present moment, or learning to keep your spiritual focus in the midst of emotional storms. If you pass the test, your heart becomes wider, freer, and your path shines clearer than ever. If not, remember, today's failure is not the end. It only means the test will return in another lifetime, until you truly learn it. Perhaps the most important thing in walking through a karmic ordeal of love is not forgetting your path. Love may be a beautiful flower growing by the roadside. Pause to admire it. Be grateful for its fragrance and beauty, but then keep walking, for there is still a mountain peak ahead waiting for you to climb. Not everyone who walks through your life leaves you love. Some leave you a lesson, and sometimes that lesson is the greatest love they could ever give you. Those who transcend this ordeal are not merely leaving behind a relationship, they are breaking free from a link in the chain of samsara. They understand that, for countless lifetimes, we have met, loved, hurt, parted, and found each other again, like tireless waves on the ocean of birth and death. And this time, they choose to set it down. They still love, but no longer cling. They still cherish, but no longer demand to possess. They allow the other to walk their own path, knowing that every soul has its own journey, and that true love is never a cage, not even one made of gold or jade. When one can release in this way, they are no longer just a seeker of the path. They become one who lives the path, Each step is light as a cloud, for nothing remains to bind them. Their heart opens wide enough to embrace even those who once caused them pain, because they see clearly, no one is truly an eternal enemy or an eternal beloved. All are simply fellow travelers on the road to liberation. And they know, if in this lifetime we can let go, the next lifetime will not require us to replay the same story again.